Welcome to the Fantasy Grimoire podcast. And today we have Besties.TBR, aka Britt, that has joined us. Thank you for joining us, Britt.
Thanks for having me.
And we've just had some very challenging technical issues to try and get going. But we did it.
We did it.
And such is life. Nothing is perfect, but we made it work. Do you remember how we met each other? Like, I remember the story, but I'm entertained by you telling me the story.
Yeah. Well, I cannot remember who it was that shared it, and I want to be able to remember to be like, this person brought us together. But some random person I decided to follow on Instagram posted your ARC applications for the Rule of the Damned, and I signed up, and then I got the ARC, and I read it, and I reviewed it, and I remember talking to you about the book, and we talked a bit back and forth, but then I had posted a picture of my Kindle case with a lazy pancreas sticker on it, and you had mentioned to me that Nikita Bell, who I'm surrounded by, has diabetes as well, and that I should connect with her. And then I became friends with her, and then after that, I found we talked more, and we just talked about your books more, and then we just kind of spiraled in a good way into a friendship, and now we talk like every single day.
I'm starting to see a theme on Bookstagram is that, sure, we start as like author and reader relationships, but like at the end of the day, we're all just friends.
Oh, yeah.
I just happen to write books and read them where you're like the best hype girl ever. I want to go back to just the diabetes part for a second. As we know on Nikita's episode, she spends a little bit of time talking about that because chronic illness is such a big part of our lives. And I know diabetes is a particularly hard one to live with. Do you want to share anything about that for anyone who might be listening, who might be going through something similar to you?
Well, I don't want to say lucky, because you're not lucky to be diagnosed with any chronic illness. But I'm kind of lucky because my family doctor noticed my sugars were a little higher than they should have been on blood work that I just happened to get. And we followed it. Mostly if you get diagnosed with type 1 as an adult, it's because you're very sick, your sugars are very, very high. You go into something called DKA and you need to be hospitalized. And then you find out you have diabetes. So I count myself very lucky that my doctor was like, there's something going on here. Let's follow it and kind of see what's going on. So he was thinking I was pre-diabetic, but then we did some more testing and figured I was probably type 1. And the best part of the whole thing was it was the week everything in the entire world shut down for COVID. So my first appointment with my endocrinologist was over the phone, had never met her, didn't really know much about diabetes at all. I was 11 weeks pregnant with my son and got diagnosed with diabetes. So it was absolutely wild. And then I had to figure out control during pregnancy because it's a much smaller range they want you in and it can cause complications. So I had the stress of that, the stress of the pandemic and everything like that. So obviously I wasn't lucky to be diagnosed, but I definitely think I was lucky I wasn't super sick when I got diagnosed and that we just kind of figured it out randomly. But that's my wild story.
It's not the same, but I relate. I didn't spend too much time talking about this on Nikita's episode, but I was diagnosed with Graves' disease when I was 15 years old. You can't really see my scar anymore. Like, it's so good on my neck. But I've had 2 operations, so I have no more thyroid. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when you take your entire thyroid out, your ability to digest calcium goes as well.
Oh.
So just for anyone who's maybe going through something similar, it's all good. Okay. The average recommended daily allowance for calcium for like a standard adult is 1,000 milligrams. I take 5,000 milligrams.
Wow.
Yeah. And and everyone's like, oh, you're overdosing. And I'm like, no, my body barely absorbs any. That's what I need to take to remain healthy. Because I think a lot of people, we get taught, drink your glass of milk at school and whatnot. But we don't actually learn how important calcium is for our body to function. and what happens when it stops. So my endocrinologist is my best friend, just FYI, with my chronic condition, being able to just, I almost want to say, feel seen amongst so many Bookstagrammers who struggle with similar issues to what I'm going through. It's a really nice feeling, even though like it's not nice that someone has a chronic disease.
No one wants to be in the party, but we're glad we have other people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think just the other day I was talking to Nikita about a checkup that I needed to do. So like it's standard stuff. It's stuff that I'm used to. But when someone doesn't have a chronic illness and they hear, oh, doctor checkups, they're like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yes, I go so it stays that way.
Yeah, I get blood work like every 3 months. I went from seeing my endocrinologist, I think it was once every 2 weeks during pregnancy, and now I'm just once a year because I'm doing so well. But like the blood work, the appointments, the this and that, and it's just like, I'm just getting blood work like it's normal.
Britt, I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of book spaces right now. So we have Shorts, we have TikTok, we have probably a few I've forgotten to mention. What is it about Bookstagram specifically that gets you to stay?
Honestly, technology. If you didn't notice by trying to figure this out. But like TikTok, I'm like, I have the app, but it's just so I can open TikToks when people send them to me. I don't know how to use it. I don't know how to make like viral reels. I don't care to make viral reels. I made a reel the other day for an ARC review actually, and I was just like, I'm just going to try something different other than a post. Let's try a reel this time. And it was just me talking. I edited a bit and then sent it into the world. So TikTok, it just doesn't really vibe with me. And then Instagram, I find, because you can search like hashtags, and I don't even know if you can do that on TikTok. Maybe you can. And it's just, the algorithm like caters to you really well. So then I find people similar to who I follow already. And then I meet more people like you guys, like the people I follow share other people who I would follow, and then I've just made a lot of friends, honestly, which is why I stay on. Like I don't even use my personal Instagram anymore. I just stay on my Bookstagram all the time because I talk to people more on my book account than my real account. So the community is probably what I would say, honestly.
If any of my real life friends hear this episode, they might be slightly offended, but I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously do have a personal Instagram account, but I'm just like, it's just so I can access the Bookstagram account. Like that's where I'm at right now. And I share the sentiments about TikTok. Sure, I understand a lot of people are getting popularity there and whatnot, and happy for you. I will not be partaking in that because number one, another platform to manage. It just feels incredibly overwhelming, and I'm just like, I'm good, thank you. And then, as you rightfully said, I need to figure out another algorithm and then try and beat that algorithm. No, I'm good with one. That's enough.
Yeah. Instagram just makes sense to me in my brain. I don't know what I'm just like. I get it, so I stay. I don't know.
We're on the subject of tech, right? So we have Goodreads as a book review platform. Then we also have a new competitor, StoryGraph, and there's Fable. Obviously, you can review books on Amazon as well. There's a big influx of people wanting to leave Goodreads. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I actually left Goodreads last year. I wasn't updating what I had already read. It was still saying I was reading them, and then it wouldn't let me add books that I was reading. So I just got super frustrated, gave up, and started writing pen and paper what I was writing. And I just kind of gave up. I do still have my account because I ARC read, and I have a lot of indie books that I read, even if I'm not ARC reading. I read mostly indie books at this point, and I know that reviews are a huge thing. So I kept my account so I can go and review, but I don't actively use it. I use it to review, and that's pretty much it. But I've moved over to StoryGraph, and I really like it. It doesn't glitch. I haven't had a single issue with it. It's got all like what you're reading, what you have read. It does the monthly wrap-ups, which I really like. That's one of the big benefits to it, I guess, that I find. It's really cool to see what I've rated and like what genres I read the most of. And then it's when you go into a book too, it'll say like, is it character driven? Is it plot driven? Was it slow to fast paced? Was there are a lot of character development and all this, and I find that gives me more information than Goodreads does. I do like reading Goodreads reviews, and I review on Goodreads, so obviously it has a place, but I like how StoryGraph is, and I like that it's like a smaller app than Goodreads, and I feel like I'm supporting something smaller, I guess, too. Like indie authors. I like supporting the small guys. And I like the layout of it better and everything.
Yeah, so this is actually something we've discussed on an earlier episode as well. So episode 3, talking about the Goodreads versus StoryGraphs debacle. And because a lot of people don't know that Goodreads is primarily owned by Amazon. And for some reason, don't ask me why, I have no idea. They've decided, hey, let me stop developing the interface on Goodreads. And we're like, but this is like from 1900. What's going on? Like,
yeah,
fix that. Thank you. And that's where I think companies like StoryGraph have been really smart, is because they've spotted an opportunity and they've been like, hey, let me jump on that. I think Jordan was even saying to me that you could like tag by tropes, or you could filter by tropes or something like that, which was really helpful. Also, you could do 5-star ratings, content ratings. And I was like, should I be on StoryGraph? I feel like I need to get on there, because there's a lot of hype building around this.
Your books are on there. They were either on there or I added. And I can add books onto StoryGraph too. So a lot of indie authors I follow, if they're not on there, I can go in and be like, oh, user ad, here's the book info. I can load the book cover and everything, and then other people can review it and say that they're reading it. So I like that too.
I should definitely go check out StoryGraph. that's the real checkout for me.
Yeah.
Bardugo. Am I saying that right? Bardugo. The author.
Oh, yes, I think so.
So you know,
maybe
in your head, and I'm like, I don't know if this is how we say it in real life. Anyway, her book, The Six of Crows, and obviously she's had a few popular books. This is the one author I haven't read yet, and I'm seeing a lot of people. Yes, that reaction is why I'm like,
you'd love her.
So for me, obviously there was the Shadow of Bone series that was also on Netflix, so she's seen a lot of success. And I believe she's traditionally published.
I think so.
You are a massive fan of her work. If you had to pitch any of her series to a person in one sentence, what would you go for?
So I've only read Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows. I actually have King of Scars and Ruler of Wolves, I think is the other one, on hold at the library right now. So it's kind of like it's called the Grishaverse, so it's all within the same universe. Reading the ones before helps you know what's going to happen in the other ones, like the world building and the backstory and everything, but they're separate. So I've read Shadow of Bone trilogy, which is where I would recommend to start with the Grishaverse, because it does give you the backstory, the world building, the magic system. It really explains everything. And I found Shadow of Bone. It was good, but it was okay. Like, it wasn't my favorite for sure. But then I moved into Six of Crows duology, which has Six of Crows and another book that I cannot think of the name. So it has the two. Crooked Kingdom, that's what it is. So it has Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. And I absolutely love those books. Like, I still think about them, and I read them probably 2 years ago. Like, the vibes, because I know you're a vibes girl too, the vibes were just like so good, and it gives the found family feel, and like they're thieves and they'd go on adventures and do all these things and work together, and it just like, and there's magic and I just love that series. And then I had read the 5 in a row, so I needed a break, and it's been like a year or two, so now I'm ready to read the third duology or third part of it, which is why they're on hold at the library right now. And my friend's 16-year-old daughter actually has read them and really likes them too. Yeah, so we talk about books. It's really sweet. She said the last 2 are really good too, so I want it to be fully in the game and really ready to read them. And she said they're really good. So Shadow of Bone is definitely where to start, and then Six of Crows into King of Scars, because you meet the characters, you kind of learn the world and all of that. But I love it. Like, you need to read it. You would love it.
I was just like noticing how you're a pretty happy person most of the time. Like, to people that don't know you, like, this is how you wake up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, it really is.
But to see how you light up when you talk about your love for Six of Crows, like, I didn't even need to know what it was about. I will now read it just because of how excited you were about it.
It's just, the vibes are just so good. I loved it. And I love there's a word for the trope, but it's like thieves, like that trope within fantasy. I love it. So it just, like, it was so well written. The characters were awesome. I loved it.
Spoken about this on the podcast already. But for me, what do I feel? And that's really what we're talking about with the vibes. Do I give a shit about your characters? Do I care about this plot that you're setting out? Like, okay, if someone dies, like, is it going to bother me? Like, make me feel something, make me hate your characters. And if you can do that as an author, like, you don't take my money. I will gladly give it to you, because you know what? I am just building the book trophy section again. But like, if I showed you my ebooks, we don't tell them those things. I ask every single guest this question: what's your bookish hot take?
So I've thought about this, and it is that not every book is for everybody. I find on Instagram, like, the viral books and the hyped up books, and then, like, if you don't like them, people are, like, being hateful in your comments, and just, I don't know. I'm like, not every book is for everybody. You don't have to like the book, like the same books that everyone likes. You can read whatever you want. If the vibes aren't it for you, go do something else. Like, I've been reading mostly indie authors for the last year or so since I got my Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. And a lot of people are like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, like, they're so good. And I'm like, if it's not for you, whatever. But I'm like, I'm going to be diving into my next one soon. And just, not every book is for everybody. And I have a close friend, who's not a big fantasy reader. And that's all I read, or most of what I read. And it's fine. Like, she doesn't care. I don't care. We still talk about books. It's just, not every book's for everybody. And some people just don't get that.
And again, nothing wrong with the book. Like, it's getting all the book top hype. It deserves its book top hype. It's just, for me personally, as a reader, it's not my thing. And I'm specifically choosing not to review the book because I set it to do not finish at 12%, which I just don't think it's fair to review at that point anymore. But for me, I just, as I was saying, I didn't care about the characters actually, and I was like, okay. I mean, I was like, sure, the cards and their magic system. I was like, it's a little bit interesting, but for me, it just wasn't enough to keep reading. I was like, I have an English TBR. I'd rather move to something else that I'm really excited about. And that's fine. It doesn't mean that I'm slagging off on the author. It doesn't mean that I'm trash talking her book, because I'm not. I'm just going, for me, not my thing, even though half of Book Talk is obsessed with that duology. And that's fine. Like you said, not every book is for everybody.
Not every book is for everybody.
Kind of want to delve into the ACOTAR side of things. Wasn't the hugest ACOTAR fan. I actually preferred Throne of Glass and Crescent City a little bit more.
Throne of Glass was so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much better. And Crescent City was my favorite by far.
Yeah, so like, for me, the only issue I had with Crescent City was book 3. Okay, book 1, phenomenal. Okay, I was devouring that. I was like, give it all to me right now. I think it was quite poor in Throne of Glass, and I was like, did we read the same book? I think the writing's phenomenal. Like, what's the problem here? And it was exciting. And I mean, Manon will forever be my favorite badass in literature.
She's amazing.
But we also know that sometimes people get upset if you don't like ACOTAR, or if you don't feel the same. And we see this book being recommended a lot as well, or these series, I should rather say, which kind of begs the question of, SJM has gone really quiet about ACOTAR 6 and what's next in her literary worlds. What do you think is her thinking there? Or if you were in her shoes, what do you think her marketing strategy is here?
Probably. It may just be that she's just taking her time, honestly, and like needs to work on it. But it could just be to get people talking and to get people wondering and getting their theories and spreading the word of like, oh, what do you think is going to happen? When do you think it's going to come out? What do you think she's going to do? Do you think she's going to do something else first? And I find with ACOTAR, the cult, like you said, there's just like so many theories and conversation about it all the time. And that's kind of, it thrives off of talking about it, that not really talking about ACOTAR 6 could just feed into that. And then the marketing is that everyone's talking about it because we don't know when it's coming out. We don't really know what it's going to be about. And honestly, I see people talking about it probably every day. So it's not the worst thing to be doing if she's planning it that way.
I don't think you're wrong, because I was having a chat with an author friend the other day just about marketing strategy, because I'm super impatient. I'm just like, here's my publishing schedule for the next 6 weeks. Have fun. And she was like, you need to rein that in a little bit. People love a little bit of mystery.
Like, build the suspense a little bit. Yeah.
I was like, transparency. Can't I just be transparent? She's like, no, you can't. And we actually used SJM as a little bit of a case study there. And if you look at the release of Onyx Storm, I know Rebecca has broken a few records with how fast that book sold. I won't be surprised if by the time SJM releases ACOTAR 6, she'll take the top position for breaking a few records with that release, because it's all anyone is talking about. They're like,
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, they're like, this is the theory of when it's coming. Like, this is the Easter egg. Mother has posted a picture. Like, it is like this frenzy. And I'm like, damn, she's not even doing anything. And her book's marketing itself. Like, that is power of the next level.
Kind of incredible.
Yeah.
And I think it's hilarious because I am such a vibes reader that I'm like, it was good. It brought the vibes. Okay. And then I'm in a few group chats with friends and they're like, oh, they're like, oh, when's the next one coming out? Like, who do you think it's going to be about? Like, what do you think is going to happen? And these things happened in this book. Like, maybe it'll bring it into this book in this way. And I'm like, the book was good.
Series that I'm rereading at the moment, Legend Born. It's book 3 is coming out in, I think, like a few weeks. And when I tell you book 1, have you read Legend Born?
I haven't. I'm borrowing it from my friend soon.
Okay.
I need to read a few of these ones first. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to fix that.
Yeah, I need to read it.
When I tell you the way the King Arthur legend, and that's not a spoiler, it's on the the book. The way the King Arthur legend is approached, I have never seen anything like this before. But also how it deals with, I would say, very modern day racism aspects, which we don't necessarily think of as white people. We're like, oh shit. And I think the way it forces us to have a look at very real issues, despite it being a fantasy, while telling an excellent story. Like, when I tell you, when I finished that book, I actually stayed at the wall for a few minutes because I was like, what just happened? And then I bought book 2 and started reading that. That's what the vibes we're talking about. Like, it gets me excited. Like, I'm still thinking about those characters and I'm like, no, make different choices, even though the books are done. Britt, you're talking about that you read a lot of indie books, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me one underrated fantasy book, and it can be traditional. It doesn't have to be indie, that you think deserves more love.
One fantasy book.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of romance lately. Fantasy. Honestly, the biggest fantasy ones I've read recently that more people need to know about, and I'm not just sucking up, is Rule of the Damned by you. I loved that one, and it's so cool, and it's done so differently. And then people on my Instagram have heard this 1,000 times already, but The Bombshell Devil's Advocate by Nikita Bell. And then, yeah, it's so good. And again, it's so different. Both of the books are just, it's not typical romantasy. Both have a little bit of romance in it, but they're fantasy and they focus more on the characters and the relationships, which at this point in my reading journey I need. And romantasy is just everywhere. So it's nice having a break from just romantasy and having fantasy with a little bit of romance. And then I also read another one about a year or so ago now The Cursed Thief by Natasha Yentruk, I think is how you say her last name. And it was good. I finished it and stared at a wall and messaged her. I was like, that was amazing. I'm the opposite of everyone and I can't help myself. And I'm like, they must know. I have zero filter and I don't care. I'm like, people need to know they're doing a good job. But it was just so good. And it was a D&D, like Dungeons and Dragons type vibe. Yeah, they have like a group going on, a little, not campaign, which is what you would call it in Dungeons and Dragons, but like a little adventure, and you get to know the characters. And the ending, I was just like, what just happened? But in a good way. And I loved that one too. So those three would probably definitely be some that need to be hyped up more. And they're all indie authors. So
I totally need to get that link from you after this episode because
yes, I will definitely send it to you.
Yes, that sounds very much like my cup of tea.
It was so good.
I think romantasy is obviously getting a lot of attention recently, and we've spoken about this on the podcast, where it's that whole blend of romance / action / escapism, like I said. But I think where my issue personally as a reader, because sure, I'm an author, but I'm a reader too, is that I'm seeing a lot of the same copy and paste plot in books. And for me, if I'm reading the same book over and over again, it kind of defeats the whole point of escapism.
Yeah.
And I think, especially for me as an author, and thank you, like that really does mean a lot to me. What I try to do as an author is write the books that I want to read.
Yeah.
And for me, with the Bombshell Devil's Advocate, I think you and I are fighting for like #1 fan position. I know we still have this unofficial joke of we're the presidents of the fan club. I mean,
yeah. And I almost wore that shirt, and then I decided to wear a book one instead.
I mean, it works. But yes, I think after reading the release now, I'm like, I've read that story so many times. I'm still buying that audiobook. I've never done audiobooks, but I will do that audiobook.
The audiobook, the little sample clip. I was like, I need to get Audible or wherever it's going to be released so that I can listen to it. I was like, I need to hear that man's voice. And the devil part, I'm just going to be like.
I was like, take me, daddy.
Yeah. Here you go, devil daddy.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if my mother decides to listen to this episode, which is a very real possibility because she has been listening, I promise you I'm okay, Mom. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about street teams, ARC teams. As authors, we rely a lot on bookstagrammers such as yourself to hype up our books. Okay, so there's two ways that you can do that. Let's start with, do you maybe want to explain to the readers what a street team is versus an ARC team?
So I'm on 2 or 3 street teams. I'm on a few. And one is kind of an ARC team and street team. It's a bit of a mix, but the street teams I'm on, the authors in the group chat with us on Instagram, and they'll share posts they've done or like things about events they have coming up, places they sell their books, anything like that. And then we can share it for them, which is the biggest thing on the street teams I'm on. It's sharing word about the authors and like reviewing them and sharing their posts, making posts. And some authors, I have two authors that will send a Google Drive with pictures and graphics and different things so that we can make our own content with it, or take that and just post like their covers or whatever and just spread the words of the books. And then the ARC teams, the street team is kind of also an ARC team. The ones I'm on are all kind of a mix. Like they're not necessarily one or the other. But on the street teams, we all get ARCs. Unless we opt out of it, they'll just give us ARCs. And then the ARC team I'm on is just a permanent ARC team. So whenever she releases a book, then we automatically get an ARC for it so that she knows she has this group of people that is set there, ready, willing, able to read an advanced copy of the book. And she knows this amount of people will read it before release and review it. So then I will have these reviews before release. So it's really just a way of spreading word of indie authors and different things they're doing and reviewing their work is what the ones I'm on do anyway.
So, to anyone that's listening who might be considering, hey, I want to get involved in a street and/or art team, because I'm seeing quite an influx of people that are quite new to the concepts. And they think that they need to jump through quite a few hoops to apply to them, which you and I know is not the case. When new to both these concepts, what should they look out for? What should they consider? Any kind of helpful advice that they should go through if they're in the position of being new?
So for an ARC reader, I just look at books that I would be interested in. Like, there's so many ARC forms out there. And I've seen a few where I'm like, yeah, I could read, like that might be okay. And then I really think about it, I'm like, no, you know what? It's not exactly my vibe. Like I said earlier, not every book is for everybody. And I'm like, if I'm not gonna give this book the fairest chance I can, then I won't sign up for the ARC. So I choose books that I think I'll love, like Rule of the Damned. I saw the post for that and they had the tropes or something on it. And I was like, oh my God, and like ran to the ARC form. I was like, I need to read this book as I filled it out. And I just find like read books that you would want to read anyway. If you saw it on a shelf in a bookstore, would you pick it up? And then the street teams, honestly, it's not as much work as you would think it would be. Like the authors share a post maybe once or twice a week, and I just add to story, I loved this book, or this person's doing the signing or whatever, and I just share it. And it's super easy to just spread the word to people. So it's not as much as it seems like it would be. And usually, again, it's just an application, and I've been accepted into everyone that I've applied for. So I don't know if it's like a super intense process for many people, but yeah, I don't have an issue being approved for anything.
I do have a follow-up question for you. So reviews, it's a very hotly contested topic in the Bookstagram space, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. So I'm kind of, as an author, I'm kind of the opinion, say whatever you want to say, that is fine, because as you very rightly said, not every book is for every reader. However, where I do draw the line is the moment we start becoming cruel, because that there's no place for cruelty. It's okay to go, hey, this book was not for me for X, Y, and Z reasons. This is lacking, da 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 da. Great. We move on, and you are very rightfully in a position to give that review. But the moment you start, I almost want to say insulting the author and their abilities, like I personally have a problem with that.
Yeah.
There are some authors that have actually clapped back, which has almost gotten them cancelled. And then we have some authors going, please don't tag me in 3-star reviews. I've actually personally got some excellent 3-star reviews. Like, honestly, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because I think dictating a review by a star metric, it's quite a tricky thing from a UX, a user experience perspective. Like there's no other way to filter it. So you have to use stars to showcase the scale. But for me, the content of the review is more important than the rating. So I don't care what you tag me in, as long as you're not cruel. That is like my only thing as an author. I'd love to hear your thoughts as a bookstagrammer. Like, how do you approach reviews, and what are your thoughts on this whole discussion?
I actually don't use stars on my Instagram reviews because I find they're so subjective. And someone's 5-star may not be a 5-star to me, but I may also still want to read the book. So I don't pay attention to the stars on other people's posts. I don't put stars on mine. And then I just even reviews, I give a brief, this happened, this is what I liked, this was really neat, done. I give enough information that if someone wants to read the book, they would know what they're getting into, what my thoughts were, but I don't use stars because I don't like using stars. And then there's only been one arc. I've read many arcs in the last year. There's only been one arc that I read that I really thought I would like. Like, I gave it a fair chance. I was like, oh, these tropes are awesome. They sound exactly like something I would read. Great. Yeah, I'll sign up. I don't really have any other arcs coming up. And I read it, and it was a struggle to get through. And I finished it, and I was like, oh, I have to review this now. Okay. I was like, okay. Other people would like this book. I know people who would like this book. What in this book would they like? So I pointed out, I wasn't like, oh, the writing was awful, because it wasn't. It was just not what I was looking for. And I was like, I don't even know. It's just, I don't want to read it right now. I might have liked it in a month or two. And I just wrote like what other people would like out of it. I just gave information about the book, really, instead of fully reviewing it, if that makes sense. Like, I gave my review, but I didn't bash the author. I didn't bash the writing. I didn't do any of that because I'm like, I said I'd review it, and maybe it wasn't for me, but I will give enough information that if it is for somebody, they could figure that out and pick it up, because I still think it was an okay book. It just didn't hit at that time. So I still try to like figure out who would want to read it and work towards that. And then if books are really good, I will just blow up my review and be like, oh, I loved everything about it. And then list everything I loved. And that's the thing. I choose arcs generally to apply for that I feel like I'll love, and most times they're a hit and it works out for me. So that I can go on my review and just be like, I loved all these things. This is what happened. This was really cool about this. This is what I liked. But I hate using start reviews on Instagram. And it's like, indie authors are trusting you with their babies. Like, I try my hardest to be gentle with those babies, and like, I want to like them, or even just constructive criticism. Like, not necessarily this was trash, just like viewed it. Like, this is what I picked up on. This wasn't working for me as a reader. And,
But I want to spend a little bit of time talking about beta reading, because you are going to beta read The Clash of the Damned for me.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So after everything we've just spoken about, beta reading is just a completely different approach, where I'm actually going, here's my manuscript, please rip it apart. And I've gotten a lot of reactions from beta readers like that. I have seen on two different sides. Some people tend to go with a lot more encouragement, where my style is very much give it to me, like go wild, like rip it apart. Because for me, I can't produce the best version of this manuscript if I don't have the worst feedback, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I've beta read once, and as I was going through it, I even said to the author, I was like, like, the vibes are here. It's flowing well. Like, everything's working for me. There's like this one thing in this one chapter, like the continuity of it didn't work. Like, you said something here, but it wasn't the same here. And it was pretty much the only criticism I gave. I was like, I loved it, and I want to read your other ones. So that's the only one I've read. So going into yours and knowing that you want like criticism, and like, I want Clash of the Damned to be the best book you can write, because I also want to reread it afterwards and love every minute of it. But I'm like, I'm just so nervous because I'm such a happy, positive person, and I'm like, the vibes are here and it's great, yay! So it's gonna be neat for me to do it, because I'm gonna try to flip how I do things and really work on the constructive side. So it's going to be interesting for me to put that hat on.
I went through a very intense process of beta reading for The Rule of the Damned. There were specifically two that really stood out to me. And when I tell you, the amount of feedback that I got from two of these beta readers. So I personally disable I disable notifications, because if I get 5 beta readers, all their notifications, like, it actually gets quite overwhelming for me. And then I go, oh, let me just check. And then you get distracted with the comments. So yeah, it's quite a process. But I think with the beta reading, that's where the collaboration part becomes quite helpful, because if you want to question something, you might, I could maybe give you some feedback, like, this is what I was going for here. And then you can go, okay, cool. Maybe this missed the mark. If you do X, Y, and Z, then I get it. So that's where the collaboration aspect becomes quite helpful. I also want to talk a little bit about book predictions for the fantasy indie space. We've got a lot happening this year in 2025, specifically in the indie space. Are there any things you think might happen, or any releases you're excited for, or just anything that you hope to see from the indie space?
I'm hoping that people just keep writing, honestly. That's like a general. I love indie authors so much. I feel like romantasy is still gonna keep kicking, and I'm kind of hoping the Bookstagram indie space moves away from that a little bit. But again, every book's not for every reader, and I'm just kind of over it as a person. And that, again, like, it's not on the authors, it's not on the space. That's me. I'm just kind of over it. I'm looking to read other things now. I really don't know what would take its place, though. Like, there's a lot of sports romances coming out, so that might be kind of taken over a little bit, even though it's been popular in the last few years. And then releases I'm excited for. One got released today, actually. It's For the Show by Katie Van Brunt. It's just a romance. It's not fantasy, so it's not really relatable to your podcast, but it was super cute. I definitely recommend. And I'm also on her street team, so here's me being part of the street team and spreading the word. But I ARC read it and I've done my review. But I really enjoyed that one. It was really fun. It was quirky. And I'm looking forward to your book coming out. And I can't think of any other ones right off the top of my head, but I know there are quite a few coming out this year that I'm excited for.
Yeah, it's same. There's another one. I was quite surprised to see that there was a continuation of the series. Did you ever read and I know we've spoken about this, I just can't remember your answer, The Coven by Harper L. Woods?
I have not.
Okay. Save it for spooky season. It's a great read for spooky season.
Okay. I think it may be on my Kindle, though.
Okay. So it was pitched as a duology. Okay. So the way the second book ends, it kind of leaves the door open, and I was like, I'm confused with this duology narrative. And then I see they're releasing another book in the series in October. And I was like, yes, I get my answers now. I was like, I know I'm an author, but again, I'm a reader too. I get really excited about these things. It makes me so happy.
Anytime I see one of my favorite authors posting that they're working on something or they have a book coming out, I'm like, yes, because I know I'm going to love it and it's going to be awesome.
I will tell you though, and I know Rochelle Mead is traditionally published. She is not an indie. If she ever releases the final book in her Game Board of the God series, I will take a day's leave. No, I will take a week's leave, okay? Don't speak to me. Don't even look at me. I need to devour this book because the first two books in this series, and I'm pretty sure I've spoken about it on the podcast, the way those books live in my head, I can't recommend it to anyone because it's an incomplete series. That's like my worst nightmare. Yeah. And then she still did like not like a press release, but she has like an FAQ section on her website because I have checked, obviously. And she was saying that she has enough street cred to self-publish. And I was like, yes, please do. Like, help us out. And we even have a title. I think it was called The Eye of Andromeda. But she's just not publishing the book because she's publishing all these other YA books first because obviously she's traditionally published, so she's under contract, so she doesn't actually have a choice. But I swear, if this book comes out in the next 5 years, we're having a party because I need answers immediately. But Britt, before we wrap up, I do want to ask, do you have any plans for your Bookstagram account over the next year and beyond? What do you hope to achieve with your account? Tell us a little bit about your plans.
So my Bookstagram account is pretty tiny. We're at like 360 followers. I share it with my friend Ash. I post a lot of fantasy with romance and that type of book. She posts more like dark romance and mafia romance and different kind of romance. So it's kind of cool. You get both sides. So I think we're just kind of going to keep doing what we're doing. I plan on doing lots of ARC reviews because I keep finding more indie authors I want to support. Some beta reading that I'll probably post about. And then honestly, I think I might keep trying some reels instead of posts. My review posts that I do don't get many likes. I don't know how many people see them, but it would be cool just to spread the word more. I don't really care how many followers we have. I don't really care how many likes we have. We started the Instagram page just to share what we're reading and what we think of books and to spread the word of books. So I'm thinking I might try reviewing in reel form to see if that can kind of get more people seeing it and engaging with it so that I can spread the word of, like, especially indie authors more and to a further audience. But that's pretty much the only plan. Keep up what we're doing. Just keep meeting people on Instagram and keep talking to everyone I know too.
If anyone wants to follow along your reading journey and see which indie authors you're supporting, the best place to connect with you is on Instagram, correct?
Oh, definitely Instagram. That's pretty much the only social media I use at this point.
Okay, cool. I will pop your handle in the episode description, so if anyone wants to follow you, they can do so. I have one final question for you before we wrap up. You mentioned your son at the beginning of the episode. I get the impression he's still quite young, but is he a reader like his mother?
4 years old.
Do you read him stories then?
Oh, every night. We go to the library like once a week.
That's so cool.
His favorite place is the book and toy store. So Chapters, our bookstore here, and the library.
Britt, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been incredible chatting to you.